that's going on all over the place.
Oh, yeah, I mean, crop circles, it's an intriguing phenomenon. You get a lot of sightings of these small little balls of light flitting around the crop circles in England particularly, and they seem to be, either under intelligent control, or as some people think, they could be some sort of alien life form themselves, whereas we're flesh and blood. They could be like an energy intelligence, an energy-based intelligence, rather than having like a 3D physical form. There are various theories about these balls of light. Did they make the crop circles? Are they another unexplained phenomenon that's actually interested in the crop circles? Some people wonder if it's actually connected or if it's two phenomena that are separate. It's difficult to say.
There was that one famous crop circle picture with the two orbs. I think it's the only one they've ever been able to photograph. And you only see it briefly, but you see the orbs come out and dash back and forth, and seconds later the crop circle is there.
There's a lot of footage of orbs in relation to crop circles. So it's just a matter of looking for them. But, I've got various friends who've investigated the crop circle mystery for years, and they've all seen, at some point or other, these orbs. And, they've said, we're not talking about somebody mistaking a satellite, however many hundreds of miles up in the sky. We're talking about small balls of light hovering maybe 20 feet above the formation while they're actually inside the formation. There's no way you can mistake it.
Absolutely. And I think the whole population has gotten tired of that business, the excuse that, it was a space balloon. I think we're over that one. I think they need to come up with a new story about that. Have you felt the energy from the crop circles yourself, or?
Well, I think what I've found more than anything else is that, I've definitely seen and watched the effect, this deep sort of spiritual effect that he has on a lot of people. I used to go down to the crop circles a lot, and when I'm back in England now, if I go over in the summer, I still try and make it where I can get down to, see the formations. And the one thing you appreciate more than anything is that they have sort of like a transformative effect on people. Many people, have never really been in them before, and they feel sort of changed, they feel energized, they feel, enthusiastic for life, and that they've got sort of rejuvenated and energy, etc. And, they come out of it almost like a new person, as if they've been sent on some sort of positive path, so to speak. Yeah,
it's an amazing. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
we could use more of spiritual transformation on this planet, a lot more. Now, what about the ghost lights? You mentioned there's one chapter on ghost lights. What are those?
Well, ghost lights, basically, Lance, they've been seen around the world for years and years, centuries. And people might be familiar with one of the most famous ones, the so-called Martha lights of Texas. And they're kind of similar, actually, to the balls of light that are seen over crop circles, but they're described as anywhere from the size of like a tennis ball up to like a beach ball. Glowing balls of light that seem to have almost like a hypnotic effect on people who see them. And very often, the person sees one of these balls of light, and then it suddenly transforms into something else, whether a UFO, a very human-looking alien, or some sort of almost like an angelic being occasionally. And, I sort of speculate in the book that, again, maybe these balls of light, that's the literal physical appearance of these alien entities, but, it's difficult for us to interact with something like that, so they manipulate certain parts of the human mind, such as like they basically manipulate the human mind to where we perceive them as looking like something that we can relate to, a human-looking alien. And they get this message across, which is generally sort of presented by like telepathy, ESP, that sort of thing. It's not like a spoken message. So in other words, we see something we can relate to, and the message comes into us in our heads. To me, that sounds like a plausible scenario of a phenomenon that can't literally physically talk to us, and that looks like nothing on Earth. And so it tries to make the communication easier for us to cope with and understand. So I think, that sometimes when these people report seeing long-haired aliens from this star system or whatever, it's an imagery. It's like a constructed, I won't say manipulation because that sort of sounds a bit sinister, but it is a manipulation of the mind, but for a reason to where it allows us to understand what it's doing.
I don't mind that. I certainly would think that would be a logical way to proceed if because we are pretty barbaric, and my goodness, we've hardly stepped out of the primordial ooze. We're just still fighting wars, and we're still subject to greed and all the strange things that go on in the planet that it seems like we should have outgrown a while ago. But, if I were an advanced being coming here, I think I'd turn my ship around and go the other way. Go home, quick. This is a danger zone. They've got atomic bombs and everything else, and they love to play. So,
well, again, that's one of the things they often warn both abductees and contactees about, is these they present sort of imagery in the person's mind of the future, like the planet exploding or just collapsing through environmental collapse or nuclear war, etc. That's sort of a familiar motif that's been present right back to the contactees and through the abductees today, that the idea that they're, some people have suggested they're showing visions of the future, of the Earth dying or whatever. I actually don't think that is what's happening. I think they're creating images in the mind of the people to make them think about what the future could be. Because,
as a possible reality.
Yeah, it's because, some people talk about seeing visions of nuclear disaster. Other people see images of ecological disaster, the polar ice caps, etc. And I think, it's almost like an either-or situation rather than, so in other words, it can't be nuclear war if it's going to be ecological collapse, etc. So I think they're creating imagery in the minds of the people they take or they contact, really to try and have certain people, be aware of how we need to change our ways. And possibly this is being done on a very large scale to where now, people are concerned and realize that there are big problems if we don't change our ways. And, it's possible that the reason we're so conscious of it is because they've instilled it in us. That is a possibility. Yeah, that I definitely think so.
And of course, many science fiction movies and Spielberg's work in particular, he did a wonderful series on contacts. I can't think of the name of it now. But yes. Oh my goodness, that was just brilliant. And then his movie War of the Worlds. Was it War of the Worlds? No, War of the Worlds. Kind of surprised me because it was so violent. And I thought, why would somebody who knows so much make such a movie? And then I started thinking, well, what if there were Martians or aliens that came from another planet that were underneath us? And, he happened to get wind of it, and he turned that into a movie that made us stop and think that maybe, we're living on top of something and they're down there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're underground bases. They're finding them all the time.
Oh, yeah, even the military, our military has huge underground installations.
Oh, they're size of cities. They're building them like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, maybe that may be why they are building them.
Well, I have to admit, lots of people who are aware of 2012 and the whole, Mayan timeline and countdown and the rest of it say that that's what's happening, that they've had some kind of future technology that allows them to, the looking glass technology. That allows them to look into the future, and so they're busy, trying to batten down the hatches and get out of Dodge. But in the meantime, we normal people, we have to kind of try to piece all this together and make some kind of sense of it.
No, you're right, and I think that's one of the problems why, in many respects, we're still looking for the answers about the UFO mystery, because it interacts with us, but it does so it stays in the background. I think we would have answered the mystery years ago if they just landed, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But they're almost like a silent partner that sort of subtly pushes us in certain directions.
That's right.
But is prepared to stay behind the scenes. And I think when that happens, we're forced to sort of connect the dots ourselves and try and make sense of what's going on. And I think we've made a pretty good headway, but, we're probably still a long way from understanding the full agenda, unless they decide to land and spill the beans, so to speak.
Well, especially if there are numerous agendas by different groups. I mean, this is quite possible. I've seen where certain military people have said, well, there are 52 to 57 types that are completely different and distinct, and they all have different, approaches. So, in fact, that might have been where Heinz 57 ketchup came from. I don't know. But, there could be, I've had guests who have talked to extra-dimensionals, extra-celestials, just about anything you can think of. And some are just so full of love and light and joy, and they're beautiful, and, but are we really seeing that? Well, the people who experience it seem to feel it, so... That's kind of a good place to start. What does it feel like? Does it feel like a loving energy? Yeah. So there could be a lot of different agendas, and most of them unknown because they're staying back and we're being looked at under the microscope.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, we don't have to compare that with people on Earth. I mean, people are complex animals. And that would be the same, I think, for any advanced species. The idea that when people say, are the aliens good or bad? Well, it's like human beings. Human beings aren't good or bad. It's not as black and white as that. There's situations that people are placed into, and people make wrong decisions. It's kind of like somebody is a really, trustworthy, honest person, responsible, and then one night they have a couple too many beers, they jump in the car and kill someone. You know what I mean? They just hit them in the car. And it's kind of like... That's a terrible thing.
Yes, it is.
But they try to live their life well. It's in other words, it's like black. Outer space. I don't think is any more black and white as people are on Earth in terms of how you try and understand somebody's mindset and character. So I think that I wouldn't be surprised if we get the truth one day. It demonstrates that their reason for coming here primarily is self-serving in the same way anything we do is for our benefit primarily. I think if they'd wanted to destroy us, they could have easily done it before we had rockets, atomic weapons, etc.
Yes, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, so I don't think destruction of us is on the cards, or at least not, right now. But on the other hand, they don't seem to want to land and, save the rainforests, save the polar ice caps, but they seem to want us to understand there are problems that need resolving. And maybe, I've sort of speculated to people in the past, maybe it's kind of like the parents and the kids, you don't want your kids to be over-reliant on you to where, they never grow up and experience life. But you do need to sort of tell them of some of the hazards, if a stranger comes up to you, you don't talk to them. That sort of thing. And I think it could be like that. They're trying to push us, but not have us become over-reliant to where our society becomes just totally absorbed by theirs. We just hand the reins over to them and say, look after us. I don't think they want that.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And there have been numerous instances, as you know, probably many more than I do, but one I heard about just a couple of days ago, that one of the people who was in Stephen Greer's original Disclosure film spoke to a friend of mine, and he said that the silos where they had their missiles, the strike missiles, were other people were seeing the ships. He did not see them, but he was one of the people that was operating the bases. And he said that systematically each silo with one of those nuclear warheads or whatever they had on there was shut down, one after another. And there was no explanation for it. There was no electrical problem. They were just being shut down by something. And the other people who were able to see what was going on the outside stated that there were UFOs over